first met Celestia Ward when I asked to interview her for one of my podcast episodes about how skeptics do research. I've always been a big fan of Squaring the Strange, which is a great example of the panel or roundtable format. She's a busy girl, so she wasn't available for an interview for this class. However, she did agree to answer my interview questions and send them to me. So in this video, I'll be using her answers to explain what Squaring the Strange is all about. Let's get started. Squaring the Strange looks at things from the mysterious to the mundane through a critical lens. Celestia says this means everything from Bigfoot to hoaxes to AI, but with the mind of a skeptic rather than a mind so open that your brain falls out, to paraphrase James Randi. Celestia didn't come up with the idea for the podcast herself. She says she was roped into it by the two other hosts, Ben Radford and Pasquale Romero, who initially asked her to be a producer because she listened to more podcasts than both of them combined. Squaring the Strange fits into the panel or roundtable format, which, as we've learned, is 3 or more people discussing a topic or a series of topics throughout the episode. In this case, the show generally consists of the 3 hosts talking about unique, timely topics. They usually have several segments, each one devoted to a particular topic, and sometimes they have a guest on the show, but not always. Their episodes run from about 1 to 2 hours long, with most of them being around an hour and a half. The audience for Squaring the Strange is anyone and everyone who likes weird stuff. The hosts realize that even true believers in aliens and ghosts might enjoy a skeptical perspective. After all, Celestia, Ben, and Pasquale love this stuff too, just from a different angle. They've even had a true Bigfoot believer on the show. Teachers and those into critical thinking are also a big part of their audience, and it's grown from word of mouth. They've appeared at shows like SciCon in Las Vegas and DragonCon in Atlanta, and they've had other podcast hosts on their show, or they themselves have done guest spots on other shows. They keep a running list of potential topics. Each time a tangent comes up where one of them, she says it's usually Ben, brings up a different strange topic and says, hey, we should do a show on that, they add it to the list. The list is obviously pretty long by now. Celestia says there's an endless supply of cryptids, hoaxes, ghost stories, folklore, and other strangeness, so they never run out of stuff to talk about. Most of their episodes involve a lot of research. Ben is a well-known author and has 30-plus years under his belt of researching bizarre phenomenon. Plus, Celestia swears he owns every book ever printed, so he has that library at his disposal. Celestia is very good at casting a net online and keeping up with more current events. They share the research notes on a Google Doc and discuss the episode before recording. Celestia says the podcast is semi-scripted, which means they outline some interview questions if there's a guest on, or if it's just the 3 of them, one host helms the show and brings notes. But a lot of the time it's just them riffing off each other about the topic. As she says, tangents happen because they're all asking questions along the way. They use Yeti microphones for the most part, but Celestia just bought a Rhodes, and she's anxious to switch over to that. She says it took them a while to learn the importance of good editing. People hate hearing ums and uhs and pauses. She handles the editing on Audacity and clips out all stutters and extraneous stuff. The amount of editing really varies from episode to episode. When they have a seasoned podcaster as a guest on the show, she says it feels like she clips out nothing at all. Squaring the Strange is supported entirely on Patreon right now, but they are looking into other methods as well, since not everyone likes to sign up for that. I'm quoting Celestia here. Make sure you have a love for the subject and make sure you have the time to devote. Whatever hours you think you'll be putting into the show per week, double that estimate. And don't expect buckets of money to pour in. That's such a rare thing you'd be better off buying lotto tickets. But have fun. And hey, consider it a time capsule. I plan on keeping an archive, and maybe 50 years from now, my grandkids can hear some of these. We picked evergreen topics. I'd like to thank Celestia Ward for taking the time to answer my questions and contributing to our class, and I highly recommend listening to Squaring the Strange. It's not only entertaining, but educational.